Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammad wa alihi at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I'll start with one or two small points before we enter the discussion, inshallah. In the traditions of the Ahlul Bayt, Rajab has been called a heavenly river. Rajab, Nahrun fil Jannah. It's a heavenly river. And whenever rivers or seas or oceans are mentioned in the traditions, the metaphysical or esoteric dimension, it's usually in reference to divine knowledge. Water is divine knowledge. Even when we speak of Khur and Qaleel water, yes, Khur and Qaleel water has fiqhi rulings, but they're representing knowledge. And that's why, depending on the degree of najasa, sometimes only Khur water, that divine knowledge, can purify contaminated minds. And I think we spoke about this last year, so I don't want to go into that too much, but water is knowledge. Now Rajab, when it's called a heavenly river, it signifies that divine knowledge is flowing, and one has access to that knowledge. And that's why Rajab is called the month of Allah, because Allah is manifesting His knowledge in this month. And then after the month of Rajab, we have the month of Sha'ban. And Sha'ban comes from the word Shu'ba, which means branch or tributary. Because rivers can only flow through tributaries. When they want to get from A to B, the water in the river only flows through these tributaries or branches. And that's why Sha'ban is the month of the Holy Messenger, or the month of the Ahlul Bayt. Rajab was the month of Allah. Suratul Ikhlas is very recommended in this month. Sha'ban is the month of the Ahlul Bayt. The Salawat is very recommended in this month. That heavenly river, that divine knowledge, it flows through the Ahlul Bayt, who are the tributaries, the branches. And who does it flow to? It flows to me and you, the Ummah, the community at large. And that's why the month of Ramadan is called the month of the Ummah. Rajab, the month of Allah. Sha'ban, with the tributaries, the Ahlul Bayt, the month of Ahlul Bayt, and the month of Ramadan, the month of the Ummah. So we all have this capacity to be a recipient of divine knowledge. We all have that capacity. That was the first point. The second point is, first of all, I want to thank all those who prepare the food. Those who are preparing the food, it's a very good deed, alhamdulillah. And feeding Muslims, feeding mu'mineen and mu'minat in any way, even if it's a single date, it's very good. And alhamdulillah, here you're preparing a lot of food, and it has a lot of thawab and a lot of spirituality with it, when your intention is to feed people who are fasting. The downside though is that everyone has a full stomach now, and now I want to speak for half an hour, it's going to affect people. People can't pay attention with a full stomach. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe if we have the speeches before, not this year, next year for those who are planning it, though I may not be here next year. But this is something to be aware of, that by having a full stomach and then wanting to acquire knowledge, you are barring yourself. Now, we can fool ourselves all we want, but to be a recipient of divine knowledge, it's going to be difficult with a full stomach. And that's why even in the interpretation of dreams, those dreams that are experienced after dinner, after lunch, they don't have value. But those early morning, before or after Salat, when the food has digested, where the soul can now work freely in producing that dream, they have more value. Otherwise, after dinner, when you sleep, the soul is preoccupied with digestion. The soul is digesting. The more the soul is occupied, the more you occupy the soul, the lesser the soul can do what it's best at. And that is that access to the metaphysical. So these are just some small points I wanted to mention, inshallah. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In one verse in the Holy Quran, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam. O you who believe, written upon you is fasting. These are important concepts now. Kutiba means it is written. It's a passive verb. It doesn't say who the agent is. It's majhul, as they say in Arabic. It's passive. It's passive in relation to telling us who is the agent. It's quiet here. It is written. Who is the writer? We don't know. Or it's not said, rather. But there is a writer. Kutiba. It's written. When something is written, it's important to know what is this book? What is the writing? That's one question. Is it just a physical book? Or is it something immaterial? And then it's written upon you. Upon you, the essence of what you are. And that's your soul. If it's your body, your physical body, well, nowhere is it written fasting. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. And then what is written? Fasting is written. So here we have to understand what writing means and what the book is. That's important. That's one issue, inshallah, we'll touch upon tonight. And then the verse continues, كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. As it was written upon those before you. Now, okay, that means previous generations with previous prophets, yes. They also, it was written upon their souls. What was written? Fasting was written. Min qablikum, before you. Now this before you also, how much before you? Is it 1 generation ago, 2 generations ago? And since it's used in the absolute sense, before you, go as far back as you can. And when you go as far back as you can, it means since pre-eternity there were people, and since pre-eternity fasting was written upon them, because there is no beginning. because Allah is pre-eternal. As long as Allah was, there's been people. As long as Allah is, there are people. And there's creation. Allah is never creationless. Allah is never manifestationless. Any concept of Allah which entails a moment that Allah is not manifesting or has no creation, you're limiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's not acceptable. And inshallah, this point I want to speak about in some detail from tomorrow, leading to the discussion of evolution. There are two states in America where for some reason I'm getting a lot of questions on evolution, and one is your state, the other is Chicago. And yes, inshallah, I'll touch upon evolution in one or two sessions, going through the different discussions, because I think it's something which is necessary. But that, inshallah, from tomorrow we'll start. In relation to the fact that there's no beginning, we have traditions which support this from the Imams. In one tradition from Imam Baqir, alayhi salam, he says, قد انقضى قبل آدم الذي هو أبونا ألف آدم أو أكثر. That before that Adam, who is our father in this cycle of humans, our father is Adam. Although I'm translating Abu as father very loosely, there's a very important secret here, but when we discuss evolution, I'll mention this point then. Before that Adam, which is our father, a million Adams or more had passed before our Adam. Now the fact that it says million in itself denotes, according to many scholars, and according to the Arabic language too, denotes infinity. Denotes there's no limit. You say a million. And in another tradition, someone asks the Imam, هل كان قبل آدم؟ Was there an Adam before Adam? Before our Adam, was there an other Adam? The Imam replied, so it's a code. The code is important here. He said, كلما سئلت عن ذلك, however much I'm asked this question, فالجواب, the answer will be أنه كان قبله آدم. However much you ask me, like, was there an Adam before that Adam? Was there an Adam then before that Adam? I would say yes. There was an Adam before that one too. Then you ask me, what was there an Adam before that Adam? I will say yes, there was an Adam. Keep on going. كلما, however much. And there are many other traditions, but I just wanted to, this part of the verse, that since pre-eternity, there were people, and since pre-eternity, fasting was written upon their souls. That was one issue. Now, what does this writing mean, that fasting is written upon you? It's important now. You know, the words of the Quran, they're universal concepts which have a wide range of meanings depending on the realm of existence. For example, the word qalam, which is a pen, how we translate it usually, we have to look at its core meaning. its universal meaning. And its universal meaning is that by means of which something is inscribed. That's the meaning of kalam. You have to always look at the substance of the meaning rather than its application or misdar. Because when you say kalam means, let's say, this physical pen or pencil or whatever, you're limiting it to one thing. But when you say kalam, by essence, is that by means of which something is inscribed, that is universal. In every realm of existence, it acquires a different meaning, but it's still kalam. And it doesn't matter, over a period of time, the same meaning, kalam, the same word applies. So for example, in the physical realm, kalam applies to, let's say, a pen. Now, 1400 years ago, kalam applied to a straw which they would use to write something with ink. Today it applies to the pen, but we still call it kalam. If we have space pens or laser pens, we can still call them kalam, because it's something by means of which something is inscribed. That's in the physical realm. In the immaterial realms, there, when the angels write things, or when things are written immaterially, not materially anymore, there too, some angels may be called kalam. And kalam, it can be used, because an angel is a means by which something is inscribed. And this is a very important stance in interpreting the Holy Quran, where every word, you have to, instead of looking at its translation, you have to see what the essence of the meaning is. If you pay attention to the essence of the meaning, a lot of truths become apparent in the Holy Quran. But if you say kalam is only the physical pen, and then if we say kalam in relation to an angel or this or that, we're using it in an allegorical sense, majazan. We're using the term figuratively. If you have that stance, most of the Quran will be a figure of speech. وَمَا عَلَّمْنَاهُ الشِّعْرَ وَمَا يَنبَغِي لَهُ. We didn't teach him, the Holy Prophet, poetry, and it's not befitting for the Holy Prophet to give poetry. And inshallah we'll speak about this, and there are many good examples which highlight this point, but I don't want to touch upon it here. We want to see, what does kitab mean? That kitab, what is it? In the Quran, there's a verse where, chapter 17, verse 14, اقرأ كتابك. In the hereafter, when we go, everyone in their own place, the call is read, اقرأ كتابك. Read your book. Which book is that? Is it a physical book? Oh, there's nothing physical in the hereafter. So it's an immaterial book. What is this book? The verse continues, Kafa binafsika al-yawm. Today, in the hereafter, your soul will suffice you. And the verse continues, alayka hasiba, as a record, but your soul will suffice you. As if the soul is your book. What have you filled your soul with from action to action, moment to moment in this world? Read it now. Because we are our actions. And the hereafter is nothing but our actions. Our actions is the hereafter per se. There's a unity between actions and the hereafter. It's one reality. Thank you, brother. And I've spoken about that before, but we may speak about it later another day. But still, it's still not clear though what is meant that fasting is written upon you. This has to be understood. To help us understand that now, I want to speak about the fitra for a few minutes in order to help us to see what this book is, this book of existence. There's a prophetic tradition where the Holy Messenger reads, مَا مِن مَوْلُودٍ إِلَّا يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every newborn is born based on the fitra. Ala al-fitra, based on the fitra. Every newborn. They're born based on this fitra. We don't know what the fitra is yet. It's loosely translated as a special kind of creation, a special kind of innate nature, which is essential to us. A very loose translation for now. فَأَبَوَاهُ, and their parents, the newborn's parents, يُحَوِّدَانِهِ أو يُنَصِّرَانِهِ أو يُمَجِّسَانِهِ. It's the parents. And here again, ab, I'm loosely translating as parents. It's wider than that. It's the parents who make the newborn a Jew, a Christian, or a Zoroastrian. Otherwise, every newborn is born based on the fitra. That's the first part of the hadith. In opposition to the fitra, then we suddenly encounter terms such as Jews, Christians, and Zoroastrians. After saying every newborn is born based on the fitra, but it's the parents who make them Jew, Christian, and Zoroastrian, it shows that that fitra is Islam. And then Islam is distorted by the parents, and then that distorted Islam becomes Judaism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, or any other religion, which those religions also have elements of truth. They're distorted Islam. They're distorted versions of Islam. The fitra is one, and that's Islam. Now it's distorted. If something is distorted, it doesn't mean it's 100% distorted. It may be 70% distorted, 50% distorted. And those Jews and Christians, they act upon that 50%. Will they be rewarded? Of course they will. It's half. Okay, that percentage which isn't and which is distorted, no, they won't be rewarded there. The same story exists within Muslims. It even exists within Shias. But it's wrong to say that Islam has come to complement Christianity. No, it doesn't make sense that. Islam is Islam. In the time of Prophet Jesus alayhi salam, it was Islam. Prophet Moses, it was Islam. And Islam hasn't come to complement a distorted Islam. Islam has come to say what Islam is. It doesn't make sense to say complement. The word complement is not found here. And therefore, we do have a kind of pluralism in religion. But pluralism doesn't mean that all the religions take you to heart 100%. It doesn't mean that's wrong. If anyone has that understanding from religious pluralism, that's not a correct understanding. To say each religion for itself can take you to Allah 100%, equally to other religions. No. By pluralism, what I mean is that every religion has elements of truth. Because it's all Islam. It's all Tawheed. As Al-Tabawi said, Abul Adyan, Tawheed is the father of all religions. But its children, the children of Tawheed, and Tawheed is the father of all religions, its children, some are righteous, some are non-righteous. I think in our Mizan, the Arabic was, some are Saliha, some are Taliha. Taliha being non-righteous, vice. But some are righteous. And those religions which are distorted forms of Islam, but still there are aspects of Islam still residing in those religions. If they act upon it, does it mean they won't be rewarded? That's a wrong understanding. And many Muslims have this understanding. And only Muslims, only Shias will go to heaven. Everyone else knows it's a definite hell eternally. And this kind of wrong interpretation has made Muslims very complacent. I don't know why Muslims want to always show the superiority card over others. It's not as easy as that. We shouldn't be complacent with our religion. Either you can, the best way of really proving your religion is through your actions. It's not through academic arguments or that kind of thing. No one has converted to Islam through academic arguments. And unfortunately, we see that we have this wrong understanding of Islam. We have a wrong understanding of Tawheed, Nubuwwah, Ma'ad. We're not ready to change it either. Then we think we're the best, and we think heaven is guaranteed. It's exactly the same story as the Jews in the Quran. We Muslims have that, especially the Shias. And Ayatollah Shahbadi, Imam's mentor, has touched upon this. And it's one of the biggest satanic traps. And although I don't want to speak about this, but unfortunately this community also has fallen into this satanic trap with the recent events that happened. And people may use religion as a reason why we did this or we did that. But it's nothing to do with religion. It's all to do with one's ego. And that has destabilized and paralyzed what was once a very strong community. Strong communities undergo tests. This community failed. It's okay though. We have to start to grow again. But don't panic. There's no need to panic or be disappointed. It was a test. We failed. Everyone failed. Everyone. It was everyone's fault. The community of Lut, they were much more religious than us. They had a test, they failed. We had a test, we failed. But the fact that they say it's because of religion, no, that's wrong. It's the ego. 99.99% of all these games, it's the ego. So that's what I mean by religious pluralism. There is haq in all religions to varying degrees. Every newborn is born based on the fitrah. In opposition to the fitrah, now we have these religions. So the fitrah is Islam. Pure Muhammadan Islam. It's Tawheed. That's what the fitrah is. But still, we still haven't opened up anything here yet. We know the fitrah is Tawheed, so what? What does it mean? Every newborn is born based on the fitrah. We have to understand this. Or in the Holy Quran, chapter 30, verse 30, Fitrat Allah allati, the fitrah of Allah, that or which Fatara Nasa, that Allah created people alayha, based on that fitra. See, alayha. In the first tradition, it was ala al-fitra. Every newborn born based on the fitra. In this holy verse, people are created alayha, based on the fitra. But what is this fitra? And I want to give an analogy. If you understand the analogy, I think the point will be, inshallah, more digestible. Imagine an architect, and the architect has studied for many years and now is a fully qualified architect. So he has a lot of knowledge, and he has a PhD, he has some form of ijtihad in architecture. In his mind, that abstract knowledge of architecture is with him. That abstract knowledge of architecture has no pictures yet. It's abstract, it's colorless, it's imageless, it's knowledge, pure knowledge. Designing a house is part of that knowledge. Designing two houses, designing this kind of house, that it's all in that abstract knowledge. Then the architect says he wants to plan and build 10 houses. As a particular architectural form of house with X number of bays, this number of chimneys, this number of different things, openings. I want to build 10 houses. So it starts with that abstract knowledge which has no limits, no dimensions, no color, no image, no size, no length, no shape. The next step after that abstract knowledge is mentally conceiving of 10 houses. He's mentally conceiving of 10 houses. In his mind, those 10 houses have this many chimneys, each house has this many number of bays, this house has this number of doors, this form of bricks, all the different features he mentally conceives of. It's still mental. Nothing has appeared in the physical realm yet. But this mental picture is a manifestation of that abstract intellect knowledge that he had. The next step, the next manifestation were those mental pictures of the house. The next step after that, he draws the houses on a piece of paper, and the final step is he builds the houses. The physical houses are built, let's say after 2 years. See, this was a process here. In some of this process, in some of the stages, it was in time dimensions. The physical house, the physical paper. In other dimensions, in his knowledge, they were in timeless dimensions. Now, if this architect says, I have built these houses, these physical houses, based upon that mental picture that I had of the houses. Because the mental picture preceded the physical house. The mental house preceded the physical house. The mental house, I mean the mental picture of the house, had all the features which led to the physical house eventually. I created this house based on that mental picture of the house that I had. In the same way, now the next question is, did the physical house, if it was created 2 years later, Did the physical house exist, let's say 3 years ago or 4 years ago? The answer is yes and no. The answer is no. The physical house didn't exist 4 years ago because the physical house of these bricks here. Okay? But the house existed in the mind of the architect 4 years ago, before the physical creation. So the house existed in that dimension, but the physical house didn't exist in that dimension. Now, Allah created us based on the fitra. The fitra, according to the logic of the Quran and the traditions, is Tawheed. It's Tawheed. And whatever comes out of Tawheed, which is pure Muhammadan Islam. Fasting also comes out of Tawheed. Prophethood comes out of Tawheed. Everything comes out of Tawheed. From the smallest things in the Sharia. Its esoteric dimension lies in the absolute divine, in that pure oneness of Allah, in that absolute perfection. It's all a manifestation of that. Then Allah says that I've created you based on that fitra. As if Allah, forgive the example, but I just want you to compare it with the analogy, is the architect. Before creating human beings, he said, human beings have to have, this is their nature. They are Tawheedi beings. Every human being is a Tawheedi being by nature. Everyone, even the mushrik today, has this Tawheedi nature. We'll speak more about Tawheed towards the middle of the month of Ramadan, inshallah. But in those differing dimensions, immaterial dimensions, Allah is creating man. Like the architect is creating the houses mentally. And in Allah's knowledge, man is there. Man exists. We existed pre-eternally in Allah's knowledge. But me, the 40-year-old, did I exist? This 40-year-old being? No. There's no physical me before. But I existed. But in Allah's knowledge. Not even my soul existed. The soul existed 40 years ago. It started to exist. And this soul was based on that Tawheed. In the same way the house was based on the images of the architect. And written upon that house was those features of the architect. Written upon our soul was fasting, which is one mistaq of Tawheed. So, as Ayatollah Hassan Zada Omri has said, man, me, you, man is an extended creature from pre-eternity to post-eternity, from the earthly dimension to the immaterial dimension. It's all man. And that is the potential of man. How much we use that potential, that's to do with us. But the potential is great. Okay, so inshallah we'll continue with this tomorrow and we'll start another verse and slowly enter the discussion of evolution.